The sound that shattered my world wasn't a scream. It wasn't crying. It wasn't even words. It was a laugh, a soft, intimate laugh I had never heard from my wife before. I heard it before I saw anything. Before the elevator door slid open. Before the bitter truth crawled up the back of my throat like venom. I heard her laugh, Emma's laugh, floating through the glossy hallway of the 10th floor, echoing off the marble like a secret whispered too loudly. And his voice answered her. Richard Hale, my boss. The doors opened. Emma was in his office, her back to me, her hair down, her fingers brushing the lapel of his suit as he leaned over her shoulder. A pose too familiar, too comfortable, too practiced, the kind you don't stumble into by accident. I froze in the doorway, breath caught, heartbeat slamming so hard I felt it in my teeth. Emma turned first. Her smile dropped. Her body stiffened as though someone had pulled an invisible string tight through her spine. Michael, she breathed. Not guilty, not afraid, just resigned. Richard straightened, smoothing his silver tie as though I had walked in on a meeting he fully expected to happen. His face didn't show panic or embarrassment. Instead, he looked at me with a kind of calm pity, as though I were the last person in the room to understand the rules of the game. And maybe I was. 2 days later, she was gone. Just like that. 15 years of marriage. 15 years of Friday night take-8. Quiet emergencies, shared jokes, whispered apologies, stubborn fights, reconciliations that left us breathless, packed into 2 suitcases and a tearless goodbye. I'm leaving, Michael, she said, voice steady, as she stood in our living room like a guest checking out of a hotel. I don't want to fight. I don't want drama. I'm done pretending. Pretending? My throat tightened. Pretending about what? Our marriage? Her happiness? Her loyalty? She wouldn't meet my eyes. It wasn't supposed to happen like this, she murmured, staring at the floor. I didn't plan it. I didn't mean to hurt you. But she was already halfway out the door. I reached out, instinct, desperation, reflex, who knows, and my fingers brushed her arm. Emma, I whispered, why him? Her answer sliced clean and cold. Because he saw me. Then she walked away. She didn't look back. The world didn't collapse in screams or shattering glass. It collapsed quietly, a toothbrush missing from the bathroom, her mug gone from the kitchen shelf, her side of the closet empty except for a wire hanger swinging like a pendulum. Ghosts everywhere. I told myself it wasn't real. She'd come back. She'd realize this was some temporary madness, a moment of emotional intoxication with a man who thrived on influence and manipulation. But then the rumors started at work. Richard promoted her. He gave her a new office, a company car, a project she had always dreamed of leading. People whispered when I passed by. Some looked sympathetic. Some looked entertained. One person, a co-worker I barely tolerated, clapped a hand on my shoulder and said, "Rough luck, man." But hey, at least she traded up. I went to the restroom and vomited. Weeks dragged by, slow, thick, suffocating. At night, I replayed every moment of our marriage like a film stuck on repeat. The night she came home late from work dinners. The messages she'd hide with a quick flick of her thumb. The emotional distance she explained as stress. Every red flag I ignored because I trusted her. Every warning sign I rationalized because I loved her. I wasn't stupid. I was loyal. There's a difference. A painful one. But something didn't add up. Emma loved stability. Routine. Predictability. Leaving me. Leaving everything. For Richard, a charming but cutthroat executive who treated relationships like short-term investments, it made no sense. Until the day everything began unraveling. I was called into a special meeting. Richard sat at the head of the oak table, flanked by 2 board members I had only seen once or twice in the past decade. His expression was professional, polished like someone preparing for a calculated speech he had practiced in the mirror. "Michael," he began, folding his hands, "we reviewed the financial discrepancies in your department." My stomach dropped. What discrepancies? His smile sharpened, not cruel, but intentional. Large ones. Concerning ones. Ones we cannot ignore. "I haven't done anything wrong," I said, pulse racing. Richard sighed, sympathetic in a way that felt rehearsed. Whether intentional or negligent, the issue remains. The board members nodded like mechanical puppets. "We'll need you to take a temporary leave," one of them added, "while we conduct a full investigation." I stared at Richard. He didn't blink. He wasn't just taking my wife. He was taking my job, my entire career, my financial security, my reputation. The room felt too small, like the walls were closing in. I couldn't breathe. "This is a setup," I whispered, but my voice sounded distant, like it belonged to someone else. "You're framing me." Richard leaned forward, his eyes cold and unreadable. "Michael," he said softly, "don't embarrass yourself." The quiet threat beneath the words made my skin crawl. That night, I broke. Not loudly, not dramatically. I crumpled onto the floor in the dark living room, clutching the wedding photo I hadn't yet taken down. Emma smiled, my arm around her waist. Our friends laughing in the background. A day filled with promises. A day that felt like it belonged to strangers. I held the frame until my hands shook. Why? Why him? Why leave? Why destroy everything? The next morning, I found an answer where I least expected it. A message request. From a name I didn't recognize. "Hi, Michael. You don't know me, but you need to hear this. Richard used your wife to get to you. She wasn't the first. She won't be the last. If you want to know the truth, meet me." My heartbeat stopped, restarted, accelerated. I typed back with trembling fingers. "Who are you?" Another message arrived instantly. Someone who got ruined by him too. Someone who knows exactly what he did to you, and why. And your wife. She doesn't know the whole truth either. My hands went cold. Emma wasn't the villain. Not fully. Not yet. She was a pawn. And I, betrayed, discarded, unraveling, was about to discover just how deep Rich's manipulation went. The woman who messaged me chose a quiet cafe on the edge of town, the kind with dim corner lamps and the faint smell of cinnamon baked into the walls. She arrived before I did, sitting with her back to the window, hood pulled low. When she lifted her head, I recognized her. Julia Turner, former director of marketing. She'd vanished from the company months earlier. Rumors said she'd had a breakdown. She didn't look broken. She looked angry, a slow burning, simmering anger that seemed to warm the air around her. "You're wondering why I messaged you," she said as I sat down. "I'm wondering how much of my life is already destroyed," I answered. Julia leaned forward. "Richard ruined my career, my reputation, my marriage. I know what he's doing to you. He follows a pattern. He finds someone loyal, someone competent, someone who'd never question him. Then he dismantles their life piece by piece." I clenched my jaw. "And Emma?" Her expression softened, just barely. "She thinks she's in love. Or special. Or chosen. I did too." She paused. Her voice lowered. "Until he used me to sabotage my own team. Then blamed me for the fallout. Then discarded me and swept the mess under someone else's name." The words hit me like fists. "Is using Emma the same way?" I whispered. Julia nodded. "But in your case, it's personal. He wants you gone, completely. You're the only one whose loyalty he couldn't buy. You're the guy the board likes, the one everyone trusts, the one who could threaten him someday." I felt heat rising up my neck. "So he seduced my wife to, what? Break me." "To isolate you," she said quietly. "To emotionally destabilize you. To create a scandal. Then he manufactured the financial discrepancies to discredit you professionally." I stared at her, heart pounding. "And Emma doesn't know." "Not even close. She thinks she's running an important project." Julia gave a humorless laugh. "It's a dead project, a fake initiative, a placeholder title to keep her feeling important while he finishes what he started." My stomach twisted. Emma didn't leave because she stopped loving me. She left because she was manipulated, used, weaponized, and she didn't even see it. I didn't sleep that night. I paced the living room, mind racing through memories like they were pieces of a puzzle I'd been too blinded by love to assemble. Emma working late, Emma glowing around him, his subtle compliments, her sudden hunger for validation, my confusion, her guilt, his strategy, I wasn't angry at her. Not fully. I was furious with him. But what could I do? He had the power, the board, my wife, my job, my reputation. He had everything. Everything except the one person who had nothing left to lose. Me. I went back to the office 3 days later, not to argue, not to beg, not to plead my case. To watch, to listen, to confirm. Emma's new office was modern, glass-walled, filled with expensive decor she didn't choose. She looked exhausted, not empowered, not victorious, just tired. She was staring at her computer with a hollow expression when I knocked. She didn't jump. She didn't smile. She didn't deny anything. She just whispered, "Michael, what are you doing here? Can we talk?" I asked. She hesitated, then nodded. When the door closed, her shoulders sagged as though she had been holding them up for weeks. "You look miserable," I said softly. Her eyes glistened. "I don't know what I'm doing." "Emma, did you ever consider he might be using you?" Her jaw tightened. She tried to respond, but her voice faltered. "He would never. He would—" I cut in. "He is." I told her everything. Julia, the setup, the fake project, the board manipulation, the pattern, how she was just another stepping stone. I watched each word hit her like a blade. "No," she whispered. "No, he loves me." He said whatever he needed to, I said gently, because he wanted to ruin me, and you were the perfect tool. Her breath caught, her face cracked. The devastation wasn't theatrical. It was small, quiet, the kind that crushes from the inside. "I left you," she whispered. "I left you for him. I destroyed our marriage for him." "You were vulnerable," I said. He knew exactly what you needed to hear. Tears slipped down her cheeks. "But why?" she choked out. "Why you?" "Because I was good at my job. Because people respected me. Because he saw me as a threat. Because destroying me made him feel powerful. But I didn't tell her that. She already looked broken. He chose you because you mattered to me," I said softly. "That's the part that made it hurt." Emma covered her mouth with her hand as her knees buckled. I caught her before she fell. For a moment, just a moment, we were us again. Two humans in pain, bound by a history that refused to die quietly. "I'm so sorry, Michael," she sobbed. "I was stupid. I was blind. I was selfish." My throat tightened. "I know," I whispered, "but that wasn't the whole story." She pulled back, eyes red, fear flickering through them. "Please tell me he didn't ruin everything." I had no answer, because at that exact moment, the office door swung open, and Richard walked in, smiling, cold, sharp, victorious. "Well," he said, voice slicing through the tension, "isn't this touching?" Emma straightened, wiping her tears. "Richard, is the project real? Did you use me?" He didn't flinch. He didn't deny. He didn't even pretend to be surprised. He just tilted his head, calculating, annoyed she had figured it out before he was finished using her. "You were convenient," he said simply. Emma staggered back as though slapped. "And you," he said, turning to me, "should have stayed in your lane." Something in me snapped. Not anger, not hatred. Something colder. Clarity. I stepped forward. "I know about the discrepancies you planted. The board will know too." He smirked. "They won't believe you." "They will," I said, "because Julia's coming back, and she has evidence." That wiped the smile off his face. "And we're not the only ones," I added. "There are others. People you burned. People you thought were too weak or scared to fight back." His eyes darkened. "You really think you can win?" he whispered. I didn't answer. Emma did. With a voice steady enough to shake the walls, she said, "Yes." Richard didn't fall in a single day. Men like him never do. But cracks began forming, small ones, then bigger ones, until the entire structure of his empire started to tremble. Emma resigned and signed a full statement. Julia returned with documentation. 2 more former employees came forward. Within weeks, the board launched an investigation, one he couldn't control. Within months, His career was in shambles. He was removed, discredited, exposed. The man who took everything from me lost everything. As for Emma and me, forgiveness isn't a single moment. It's 1,000 small decisions. And sometimes it's choosing to stop bleeding long enough to see if healing is possible. We aren't who we were. We may never be again. But she is no longer the woman who walked out with 2 suitcases and someone else's promises. She's the woman who faced her worst mistake and chose to make it right. And me? I'm the man who survived being destroyed. Not because of her, not in spite of her, but alongside her, after the truth burned everything we thought we knew. Sometimes betrayal opens a wound so deep it exposes everything that was broken long before the lie. Sometimes truth is the only thing sharp enough to set you free.